What's up, everybody? It's DJ the Sports Blurred. I'm back. Did you miss me? Hopefully you did. So I just want to make a quick one today, man. I just want to hop on here. I just looked at ESPN.com, saw the new CFP college football playoff matchups and the rankings that came out. I'm not really going to focus on 1 through 25. I did just want to see kind of where the Buckeyes landed and some other teams landed, especially after this week. It was a terrible week all the way around. Kind of wanted to see where some teams got slotted. So let's say the playoffs started today. The very first game, opening round. Number 12 seed Arizona State would go to Happy Valley. They play the Nittany Lions at the 5 seed. That's a game I think Penn State wins, and I think they'd win actually quite convincingly. I think their play style actually would dominate Arizona State. I'm not a huge fan of Arizona State. I mean, they've had a really decent season out there in the Big 12. I would have liked to see Colorado pick up that Big 12 bid there, but still, nonetheless, Arizona State. Good season. I don't think they can keep up with the Nittany Lions, especially playing at home. And you would have to think that would be at least a night game, especially with it being in the playoffs. So like Penn State in that matchup. Brings me to the next matchup that I wanted to go to. This is the one I primarily really want to talk about because I am a Buckeye fan. Number 9 Tennessee would have to come to the Horseshoe. Now, what do I think about this game? I think that Ohio State would beat Tennessee by 20 points. I know coming off a loss to Michigan, I know a lot of people think that Ohio State is worse than what they really are. I'm here to tell you that they're not. They just had a really bad game plan. I thought that they played into Michigan's strengths by just running it right up the middle. I mean, they have 2 defensive linemen or defensive tackles from Michigan that are going to be studs. Those are guys. And those are not just good guys in the Big Ten. Those are not just good guys in college football. Those are going to be top picks when it comes to the NFL draft whenever they're drafted. I'm going to jack his name up, Nico Ivanovic or whatever, the Tennessee's quarterback, whatever his name was. He came out pretty hot early this year, but as the season has kind of got a little bit stronger, a little bit more chaotic, playing a little bit tougher competition, he's kind of froze up. You can say what you want about Will Howard. Will Howard had one bad game, but Nico's had a string of bad games. So I think this is a Big Ten SEC matchup where the Big Ten wins. And if Ohio State was to win that game, they'd have a rematch of Oregon. And I think Ohio State would win that game at a neutral field. I think Ohio State wins that matchup 7 out of 10 times. I mean, they only lost by 1 point in Autzen Stadium under the lights at nighttime. And they were driving down the field and just ran out of time. I think Ohio State wins, obviously, the Tennessee game at home. And I think on a neutral field, they'll beat Oregon. Now let's go to the next opening round game. You'd have the 11th seed Alabama Crimson Tide going to the 6th seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That would be a really good game. And one, believe it or not, I would actually root for Notre Dame. And not necessarily just root for them. I could see them winning that game. Jalen Milroe has been pretty much the only person on the offensive side of the ball for Alabama outside of Ryan Williams. And even recently, you've seen Ryan Williams kind of hit that rookie or that freshman wall. Jalen Milroe can only carry a team so far. I think he's uber talented. I think he's one of the most athletic quarterbacks that we've seen in the last 10 years. If you've seen him, dude looks like an absolute stud. I mean, he looks like he's just chiseled out of rock. I mean, his arms are big, legs are big, and he's just a big running mobile quarterback with with a cannon as an arm. But that being said, he doesn't have much accuracy. If you've seen that cannon, you've seen that bad boy get thrown to people on his team and people to the other team. So I do think that Notre Dame wins that at home. I could see that being a close game. I could see that being a game that if Notre Dame were to win that game, they'd win by a field goal or less. I could also see them blowing Alabama out. I guess that's the weird part about that. And that team would have to play SMU. I think Alabama would absolutely kill SMU. I'm not impressed by mid-majors. I'm not impressed by Boise State. I'm not impressed by SMU. I think that Bama is absolutely battle-tested this year. If they were to win that game versus Notre Dame, they would actually blow the doors out of SMU. And the same thing with Notre Dame. Riley, the quarterback for Notre Dame, he's been playing very well quietly, and he's been putting together a pretty decent Heisman campaign. You know, they lost to Northern Illinois early this year, so I think a lot of people saw that and took a step back from that team. But quietly, they've put together a really good resume, and their quarterback's been putting together a heck of a season. And then finally, the last opening game, you'd have number 10 Indiana Hoosiers. They would be going all the way down to Athens, Georgia. Number 7 Georgia, the Bulldogs. They'd be playing them. This is a game that would be hard to call. And on paper, Georgia is the better team. But if you've watched Georgia at all this year, you know they've struggled pretty much in the majority of their football games this year. I mean, heck, even the last game they played, you know, versus Georgia Tech, they needed 8 overtimes to play them. Georgia's going to be an interesting pick because I would like to see them in the SEC championship this week versus Texas. I think that's going to be a great game. My heart says Texas is going to get revenge on Georgia, but I mean, they completely dominated Texas at home earlier this year. So, you know, if Georgia wins that game, I won't be surprised. But going back to this game, and this is again, if the playoffs ended today and there were no conference games this weekend, I think Georgia wins this game versus Indiana. I think it'd be a close game. I think Indiana would have the lead at some point in this game, but I do think Kirby Smart is a difference maker. Now, Carson Beck has had an absolute terrible second half of the season, but Kirby Smart just knows how to win a game. So in this game, I'd take Georgia, and then that team, which would be Georgia, would play Texas, believe it or not, in the next round of the playoffs. So, you know, if they were to play in the playoffs again, and let's say they didn't play this weekend in the SEC championship game, you know, I would have, it's very tough, man, 50-50. I'm going to go with Georgia. You know, flip a coin in the playoffs if they were to match up with them again. I would go with Georgia, but again, I could see Texas coming back and beating them. And then if Indiana were to beat Georgia and then have to play Texas in that playoff matchup, you know, I think Texas wins pretty easily with them. All right, that's just my little video I have for today, man. Let me know what you guys think about it. Please, if you think I'm right, if you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm crazy, let me know in the comments. If you've gotten this far, please like the video, comment, subscribe, all of it. Tell your mother, go tell her mother. Please, please, please. That's all I got. Have a good one.